the Modi government being complicit, making it easier for Benjamin Netanyahu to do what he is doing. Worse, when people in India want to raise their voice, you can't have a public protest in Delhi. We've seen examples of people in Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra and other states being prosecuted for a WhatsApp status or a Facebook post in solidarity with the people of Palestine. So there is no freedom of speech when it comes to the people of India wanting to stand in solidarity with their fraternal people in Palestine. This is the state of affairs in the country that claims to be Vishwa Guru, Vishwa Mitra, whatever. और किसानों के साथ जो दुर्दशा हो रहा है, ये आप देख सकते हैं. So we are looking at a situation where the right to protest has virtually been snatched away from people. You know, for the longest time, we have lived under the illusion, in a way cherished the illusion, that as human beings, successive generations of human beings, we allowed all kinds of atrocities to happen. The mass slaughter of recruited, enlisted men in World War I, the insane killing of civilians and the Holocaust in World War II. We allowed this to happen because we didn't know what was happening. In the Allied occupation of Germany, one of the important steps that the Allies took was to show movie reels and photographs of concentration camps to the German population, on the assumption that they didn't know what was happening. And if only they had known, they might have prevented it. And the West certainly. And of course, there's a whole literature now as to how the West was pretty well informed as to what was happening. First word of what was happening in Auschwitz was available well before the Red Army liberated that camp and exposed the horrors to the world. But the illusion that we lived under was that if only the world could have seen, if only we'd seen those images, if only we'd seen that footage, we would have risen as one and ensured that it didn't happen. And I'm sorry to say that what the Gaza genocide has proved to us is that it doesn't matter. You can have any kind of footage, and we all have seen heartrending photographs, video clips, audio clips of mass murder, of genocide happening in real time before our very eyes. The same footage is available to the entire world, to all world leaders. Yet, you still have countries and leaders who hesitate about something so basic as demanding a ceasefire. You have countries that continue to sell weaponry to perpetuate the killing that is happening, including the government of India, because recently, as we saw in the media, there were reports of the Adani Elbit joint venture in Hyderabad selling drones to the IDF, the same kind of drones that are being used. It doesn't matter if the one made in Hyderabad is currently in use, these weapons are fungible. So, all the footage that we can see, all the imagery that we know has not made one bit of difference to a certain category of world leaders, certain kind of government, of course. The most culpable in this regard is the United States, which has in the past used its influence and authority and power over the Israeli state to put an end to the insane use of force as and when it's happened, as and when they chose to in the past. And people have cited the 80s Israeli attack on Lebanon as an example. The United States is consciously choosing to allow the genocidal killing of Palestinians to continue. But it's not just the United States that's culpable. Ambassador Fabian spoke about the Vishwa Guru complex. Our foreign minister loves using the phrase Vishwamitra, India is a friend of the world. What kind of a friend of the world are you? When you do not want to lift a finger, when you do not want to speak the truth about what is happening. I saw his participation in the Munich Security Conference the other day. He was on a panel with the American Secretary of State and the German Foreign Minister. And these three foreign ministers were talking as if the ICJ did not exist. There was no reference to what the ICJ had found. Two of those three foreign ministers, their governments had judges on that panel. And this was as unanimous, as convincing a verdict as you can get. But this is irrelevant as far as they are concerned, because they don't want to do anything to stop the killing. I was astonished that the foreign minister believes that you can have business as usual. The other day, speaking at the Raisina dialogue in Delhi, he chose to wax eloquent about the so-called India-Middle East Economic Corridor. Why? Because he says the turmoil in the Red Sea shows the importance of a new corridor. Hello, this new corridor is supposed to run through Israel. Israel is in the middle of conducting a genocidal war. The turmoil in the Red Sea is a result of that genocidal war. And you have a foreign minister who cannot join the dots and come to a simple conclusion. And we have to look, and the same foreign minister, the same prime minister take great pride in saying India as a leader of Global South, how as G20 president we gave voice to Global South and so on and so forth. The real leaders of the Global South today are South Africa, Brazil, whose president Lula made a very, very sharp observation, which led the Israeli prime minister to say he's persona non grata, and I would say that Lula will probably wear that as a badge of honor. So there are countries, there are leaders who are willing to stand up and speak out for what is correct. Here, not only does the government not speak, the government is complicit. Jean mentioned how the government of India is facilitating the export of a new kind of indentured labor. Not only are you subjecting Indian workers to all the risks that come with working in a conflict zone, but you are undermining the decades-long solidarity between India and Palestine, between the people of India and Palestine. You are making it easier for the Israeli state to target Palestinian civilians, deprive them of their livelihood. We're talking about a people who live under illegal occupation. There's a second hearing going on at the ICJ based on a recommendation by the UN General Assembly on the consequences of Israel's continued illegal occupation of the Palestinian territories. India again is one of the countries that's not going to be speaking there. I saw a very good presentation by Bangladesh and by lots of other countries. But we're talking about an occupied people already living at the edge, being deprived of any economic opportunities, and now the Modi government being complicit, making it easier for Benjamin Netanyahu to do what he's doing. Worse, when people in India want to raise their voice, you can't have a public protest in Delhi. We've seen examples of people in Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, and other states being prosecuted for a WhatsApp status or a Facebook post in solidarity with the people of Palestine. So there is no freedom of speech when it comes to the people of India wanting to stand in solidarity with their fraternal people in Palestine. This is the state of affairs in the country that claims to be Vishwaguru, Vishwamitra, whatever. In the last year and a half, the world has seen two bloody wars, both of which are continuing, which have taken a huge toll in terms of civilian lives. The Russian invasion and aggression of Ukraine and the Israeli genocidal war on the people of Palestine. There is, to my knowledge, only one country, only one government that has refused. Most countries have condemned one or the other. That speaks to a different kind of double standard. There is one country that is quite happy to stand with Putin and stand with Mr. Netanyahu. And that's the government of Mr. Modi. This is the reality of the kind of regime that we are looking at here. And Jean and Aisha were saying that we need to deliberate on how to change things. It's clear that governments by themselves, these governments by themselves, have no intention of lifting a finger to put a stop to the genocide that's going on. It's up to the people of these countries to find every means possible to raise their voice, to speak out in meetings, seminars, media, social media, have events. We've seen massive protests in the UK, large but smaller protests in the United States, in Germany, Norway. People everywhere are saying, not in my name. And I think that this meeting in Delhi is a very, very good start. देर आए दुरुस्त आए. इससे पहले भी ऐसी मीटिंग्स होनी चाहिए थी, लेकिन हालात यहाँ पे क्या हैं हम अच्छी तरह समझते हैं. बाहर जरा मीटिंग करने की कोशिश अगर आप करेंगे तो पूरी तरह से पुलिस इस पे रोक लगाने की कोशिश करेगी. और किसानों के साथ जो दुर्दशा हो रहा है ये आप देख सकते हैं. So we are looking at a situation where the right to protest has virtually been snatched away from people. But we have to find ways to make our voices heard. We have to find ways to speak out. We have to find ways to stand in solidarity with the people of Palestine and to insist that even if the government of India under Mr. Modi does not have the moral courage to call a spade, to condemn, doesn't have the courage to condemn what the Israeli state is doing, but you have no business and no right to facilitate the genocide through the sale of weaponry and by sending Indian labor as a kind of a new form of indenture into a conflict zone and making it easier for the Israeli state to further marginalize and victimize the people of Palestine. Thank you very much.
नेशनल दस्तक की आपसे गुजारिश है कि अगर इसको बचाना चाहते हैं तो नेशनल दस्तक को सब्सक्राइब करने के लिए रेड कलर के सब्सक्राइब बटन को दबाएं, फिर बेल आइकन की घंटी दबाएं. नेशनल दस्तक को बचाने के लिए बहुत जरूरी है कि हर खबर को शेयर करें, लाइक करें, कमेंट जरूर करें.